right. Reverend Glenn may have forgotten, but I actually met her 2 or 3 years prior to starting coming to chapel. She married my daughter-in-law and her new wife. So I actually met her before meeting her. And I thought she was great then, too. So, good morning. Hi. I know I usually come up here with a whole bunch of science stuff or metaphysical stuff. Today we're going to lighten it up a little bit. Since Halloween is right around the corner, I thought I'd speak today about something that's very simple but very confusing also. Witches. Well, rather the religion that's associated with witches. Wicca. Even though many people consider them one and the same, that's not correct. Today, I'd like to give you the information that you need to know what makes them different. The distinction between Wicca and witchcraft is simple. Wicca is a religion, whereas witchcraft is a practice. The definition of a religion is that it is a spiritual belief system based around observance and worship of deities such as Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism. A practice is something that is done, such as prayer, meditation, or magic. Simply put, magic is a practice and paganism is a religion. Wicca is a subset of paganism, and magic is the main goal of witchcraft. I should note that some people consider witchcraft their religion, and spellcasting is included in Wicca, but that only means that different areas of each can be interchangeable and does not classify these two topics as being the same. The main difference between Wicca and witchcraft come from the differences in intent. The purpose of Wicca is to honor the Lord and Lady, observe the turns of the wheel of the year, and to pay attention to one's spirituality. Wicca is intimately tied to one's relationship with the divine, but whatever faces they choose to show, witchcraft, on the other hand, does not involve deities. Instead, it's concerned with the use of spells and herbs and achieve a desired end, healing, love, and protection. Paganism is a term first used in the 4th century by early Christianity, 4th century before early Christianity, for populations of the Roman Empire who practice polytheism, which is the belief and worship of more than one god. Or because they were extremely rural and because they were not soldiers of Christ. The term pagan also has a derogatory definition in historical contexts as a person who is not a Christian, Jew, or Muslim, a heathen, a hedonistic person, or an uncivilized or unenlightened person. But paganism is not dogmatic, as is most organized religions. Pagans pursue their own vision of the divine as a direct and personal experience. The pagan outlook venerates nature and the worship of many deities, both goddesses and gods, just as the Romans did. The veneration of nature is an outlook which sees nature as a manifestation of divinity rather than a neutral or inanimate object, and that divination and magic are accepted parts of life. As well as reading the signs already given by deities, diviners may also actively ask the universe to send a sign, for example, by casting stones to read the geometric patterns into which they fall, by casting runes or the yarrow stalks of the I Ching. Pagans also believe that the divine world will answer a genuine request for information. Wiccas are neo-pagans. For many people, the embracing of the earth-based spirituality is a feeling of coming home. The religion of Wicca is founded by Gerald Gardner in Britain in the mid-20th century, or roughly about 70 years ago. He was an author and an amateur anthropologist and archaeologist. His craft name was Syri. A craft name, also known as a magical name, is a secondary religious name often adopted by practitioners of Wicca or neo-pagans. Craft names may be adopted as a means of protecting one's privacy, especially if they're still in the broom closet, as an expression of religious devotion, or as a part of an initiation ritual. It may also be used as a protective method, as it is believed that one's true name can be used to identify that person for the purposes of curses. He was instrumental in bringing the contemporary pagan religion of Wicca to the public's attention, writing some of its definitive religious texts and founding the tradition of Gardnerian, his last name is Gardner, Gardnerian, that sounds good, let's go with that, Gardnerian Wicca. Born into an upper middle class family in Lincolnshire, England, Gardner worked as a civil servant, independently developing an interest in the native peoples and writing papers and a book about their magical practices. After his retirement in 1936, he traveled to Cyprus, writing a novel, A Goddess Arrives, before returning to England. Settling down near the New Forest, he joined an occult group, the Rosicrucian Order Protona Fellowship, through which he claimed to have encountered the New Forest Coven, into which he was initiated in 1939. Believing the covenant to be a survival of the pre-Christian witch cult discussed in the works of Margaret Murray, he decided to revive the faith, supplementing the covenant's rituals with ideas borrowed from Freemasonry, ceremonial magic, and the writings of occultist Aleister Crowley. His primary influences came from 19th century ceremonial magic of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the ritual structures of Masonry, also adopted by magical orders, 19th century Romantic views on ancient pagan mythology, and Margaret Murray's concept of the ancient religious witch cult. A popular misconception of Wicca religion is that it involves the worship of Satan due to the use of pentagrams and the wearing of all black clothing. This is emphatically not true. The pentacle serves as a representation of the four elements: air, earth, fire, and water. The fifth point on the star represents acacia, which is spirit. When the one point is upright, it's a positive symbol. When 2 points are up and the star is inverted, it is comparable to an inverted cross, which is associated with Satanists. Wiccans tend to wear the color black because it's a mixture of all colors and is often associated with possessing the energies of all other colors. It is also a color linked to calming and protective effects. Also untrue is the misconception that Wiccans are involved in animal sacrifice rituals, as they follow the rule of harm none. Ancient pagan followers did practice this ritual, as did most other religions back then, as it was a way for them to please the gods or thank them for their kindness. Judaism is one of the oldest surviving religions of modern times. Animal sacrifice in Judaism, or korbanot, is a custom by which they do the ritual sacrifice of a chicken or lamb at the Jewish temple to atone for a human being's sins. There are some vague references to animal sacrifice in the early days of Christianity. The New Testament mentions that Jesus' parents sacrificed a pair of doves after his death. In fact, the whole semantics behind calling Jesus the Lamb of God makes a reference to the fact that Jesus was sacrificed at God's altar to atone for the sins of mankind. In Hinduism, Bali is a term used for animal sacrifice. Bali in Hinduism is a sacred rite that mostly practiced by devotees of Shakti, or the sole female deity. The followers of Islam who take the holy pilgrimage to Mecca are honor-bound to sacrifice a lamb or camel at the altar of God. Apart from that, lambs and camels are also sacrificed on every Eid. Even though all of these sacrifices would then be eaten, and or their carcasses would somehow be used as to not be wasteful, these practices are no longer used. Thank goodness. I'm thinking PETA and other animal rights groups wouldn't allow that anyway. So, yay, good for that. Wicca has numerous similarities to other religions. Here are some examples of those parallels. Spells. Wiccans cast spells or workings intended to bring about real change in the physical world. Common Wiccan spells include those used for healing, for protection, fertility, or to banish negative influences. They are defined as a spoken word or form of words held to have magic power, a state of enchantment, and a strong, compelling influence or attraction. This is analogous to the prayers that we use in Christianity, or that are used in Christianity, for example, the Lord's Prayer. Sacred circles. A magic circle is a sphere or field of space marked out by practitioners of many branches of ritual magic, which they generally will contain energy and form a sacred space, or will provide them a form of magical protection. It's also a way to form unity and become one of like mind, as anyone here knows, as we join hands in our circle at the end of each service. Rituals. Wicca draws upon a diverse set of ancient pagan and 20th century Hermetic motifs for its theological structure and ritual practices. During Mass, the Catholic Church uses the rite of transubstantiation. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Transubstantiation, which is performed with bread and wine as the body and blood of Jesus to represent his sacrifice. We also use rituals in everyday life, such as weddings, or in the form of baby showers to welcome a new baby. Book of Shadows. A Book of Shadows is a book containing religious texts and instructions for magical rituals. There are numerous sacred tomes in other religions, such as the Bible, the Quran, and the Dao Ching. Symbolism. Many religions, even those involving a variety of symbols, hold one above all others to represent the religion. For Jews, it's the Star of David. For Christians, it's the cross, although they employ dozens of variations of the basic design. For Wiccans, it's the pentagram, and that was popularized in the 19th century. Gods. Whether there are numerous gods or only one, most religions have a deity associated with them. Western religions, such as Christianity, Catholicism, Jewish, and Islam, are monotheistic, whereas the ancient Greeks, Hinduism, and Wicca are all polytheistic, or worship more than one god. Holidays and celebratory dates. There are 8 holidays known as Sabbats, typically celebrated within the Wicca religion. 2 solstices, 2 equinoxes, as well as a handful of other occasions that appear throughout the year. Wicca recognizes Celtic holidays as its 4 greater Sabbats, but the meanings, practices, and overall framework are considerably different. We are all familiar with a lot of other religious holidays, such as Christianity's Easter and Christmas, the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and believe it or not, Mardi Gras is listed as a pagan holiday. Golden Rule. The Golden Rule can be considered as a rule of reciprocity in some religions, and it is the principle of treating others as one would wish to be treated. It is a maxim of altruism seen in many human religions and human cultures. Do unto others as they would do unto you is the most widely used golden rule known from Christianity, but other religions also adopt this same sentiment. 5 centuries before Jesus Christ, Confucius taught his followers, do not impose on others what you do not wish for yourself. In 560 BC, it was written in the Buddhist text Udana, hurt not others with that which pains yourself. And the Quran and Prophet Muhammad state, respectively, return evil with kindness, and none of you have faith until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself. Good stuff. Wiccans staunchly believe in the Wiccan Rede, which provides the key moral system in the neo-pagan religion, and is a teaching that says, as long as it is done not harm anyone, including yourself and future generations, do whatever you want to do. The Rede demands the Wiccans to be cautious about every decision in relation to themselves, other people, and the environment. Interesting facts that you should take away today. In conclusion, here's the basic tenements of the Wiccan religion that you should take away with you today. Maintenance of the ecological balance. Wiccans believe that their intelligence gives them a unique responsibility towards the environment. They live in peace and harmony with the natural surroundings and strive to maintain an ecological balance. This offers them a sense of fulfillment in life and provides them a conscience. Wiccans do not have a hierarchical body based on designation and authority. They pay full respect to their teachers and offer profound respect to people who share greater knowledge and wisdom. They also encourage those who have the valor to give themselves away for the sake of leadership and for the greater good. The philosophy of life. Wiccans believe that religion, magic, and wisdom are all entangled to the ways of the world. Most Wiccans believe that God is a supreme force that bears no gender. In times of worship, the image of the god and the goddess are utilized. In the Wiccan religion, this part of the belief system follows along the same lines as there is being female and male parts in most nature's creations. This is why there is both a male and female god within this religion. Gender equality. Wiccans believe that all beings have immense creative abilities, be it males or females. The creative abilities of both the genders complement each other. They feel both genders are equally important and no one is above each other. They believe that sex is an embodiment of life, It is a way to channelize energy, which is used in magical practices and religious worships. Denial of absolute evil. Wiccans discard the concept of absolute evil. They do not worship Satan or the devil. They also do not seek power and happiness through the suffering of others. They also abandon the concept of personal benefit derived by denial to another. As mentioned earlier, the Wiccan Rede is a poem that the main laws of morality for Wicca come from, and states at its core that whatever you do comes back to you 3 times. I like it in the meditation because you had said to take 3 breaths, so I thought that was neat. Synchronicity, I love it. Whatever you do comes back to you times 3. The poem was only published recently, but some Wiccans claim that it's been handed down for generations and has ancient origins. The first law states, "Mind the threefold law ye should, 3 times bad and 3 times good." This is usually called the law of return or the threefold law, and is similar to the idea of karma. The second comes at the end and states, "And it harm none, do what ye will." So, if you come across a true Wiccan, you don't need to worry about them casting a spell on you. It goes against their moral code. Wiccans are acknowledgeable of the power that differentiates them from average people. The world calls this supernatural, but Wiccans see this as a gift and a natural potential to see what lies within. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for listening. And I apologize for my mouth not working. It sounded so much